Afternoon, everyone. Chris Berryman here. How you guys doing today on terrific Thursday? And welcome everyone to our Bringing Humanity Together live stream. This is one of the three open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella, where people can discuss topics related to the workplace and humanity in the workplace in a very positive and constructive way. We want to know what the issues that are out there that are facing people today, because it's our goal and our mission and our purpose here at Bringing Humanity Together to both work with employers and employees to bring humanity back into the workforce. And as always, we're always going to be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Just as a reminder, we'll also have a 15-minute meet and greet for everyone who wants to jump on board the live stream to have a meet and greet, and that will be from 2:45 to 3 o'clock. And remember, as always, I'll host Conversations for Humanity on Wednesday. Every Tuesday, Sharon Care with Sandy is hosted by Sandy Chernoff. And as you can see here, here's our host today for Humanity Happy Hour. Carla Fedigan will be your host for Humanity Happy Hour. And as you jump on, feel free to comment in the chat, whether you're on the YouTube channel or on our LinkedIn Live, and let us know where you're watching from. Please feel free to comment, ask questions. We want to have that engagement and great and engaging conversation with you. And if you even want to reach out to us, please tag one of us, and we would love to be able to talk to you at a later date and everything like that. And also let us know where you're watching from too as well, because we have people from all around the world, and it's great to hear from you guys. And if you're watching this on the replay, please be sure to comment also with the hashtag replay, and still let us know where you're watching from. And also, if you want to be able to be a part of the conversation today, the live link will go both into the YouTube channel and our LinkedIn Live here very shortly. So if you'd like to join us, we would love to have that opportunity to speak with you today. So, hello, Miss Carla.
Hey, Chris. I think we need to start giving out prizes for the first person to jump on. This is not part of our
What
team.
prize would that be? That'd be a new one.
Yeah. Maybe that's the incentive that people need. Yeah. It is a rainy day here in Georgia. Rainy night in Georgia. Who is that? Who was it that had that song? Gladys Knight?
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. That. So look that up on Google. I'm sure you'll find it.
Google.
Go to Google.
Google. Who sang Rainy Night in Georgia?
I know it was a lady, but I forget who it was.
Benton originally recorded it. You know who I'm thinking of? That other one I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of the Midnight Train to Georgia.
Yep. I think that's the title of the song.
Yeah.
Midnight Train to Georgia. That's a classic, though.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have all the, well, you have it too. We have the Remnants of the Rain from Nicholas.
Oh, nice.
So, kind of messy.
Nice. Yeah, we also have a big storm out in the Gulf of Mexico that's coming our way, and it's bringing a lot of rain, and it's pushing everything over.
I think it's the same one, because it hit Texas, and then it was cutting across Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama and Florida.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the radar real fast.
Yeah, and also we got a couple of storms out in the Atlantic too that's
more
brewing out there. So
of course we still have till what? When's hurricane season over with? In November?
I think in November.
Yeah.
November.
Yeah, so it looks like the brunt of it's between Macon and Savannah. But we're getting all the remnants of the rain, and you're getting some too. So who knows? We'll have to see what's next. What fun is next? You never know.
Well, there's always a brighter side of things. So you always got to look at the bright side of things. Yeah, a little rain today helps us grow to a certain place. When we're talking about growth today,
it's good for the grass.
Yes, we can't live without the rain. So for us to grow, we got to have the rain for the garden, rain to be able to give us what we need, and everything like that. Because it's part of the circle of life. Without the rain, we won't be able to grow, especially in our garden. Because if our garden starts to wither and die, what do we do with our garden?
Yeah, I told my husband I need a Florida fix. I need a warm weather Florida fix.
Nice.
I went down to Florida one year in October, to visit a friend of mine down in Port St. Lucie. And I'm not an Atlantic coast girl. I like the Gulf better, but I'd really not. I'd take either one really. But I was like, it was beautiful in October, and I was like, why wouldn't anybody want this? And she goes, well, people say they want the change of seasons. I said, you can go visit it. You can go visit it.
That's a classic. Yeah. But I have to ask you, is Cosmo still adjusting to the dog?
Is he what?
The dog. Remember the little plastic dog or
is he barking at the acrylic dog? No, he hasn't. No. I think he's given up on it.
I saw those pictures on Facebook and I'm like, huh? I'm thinking to myself,
I thought it was a real dog.
He's like, what is this?
Yeah. He's a goofball, I tell you. So I can tell him we can go for a walk and his ears will perk up, or ask him if he wants to brush and his ears will perk up. And
yeah,
he loves the word treat and greenie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember the dogs that I had, because I had 2 poodles and a chihuahua at one point, and when I said that T word, that little chihuahua a little bit, he would go nuts. He just got the ears up, radar on, and everything like that. The other 2, it was a little different for them and everything like that. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
Hey, Lisa.
Hey.
There's a real cute reel that people have done that I saw that was a little chihuahua, thinking of chihuahuas and little dogs, laying around on the couch, and the voiceover goes, I'm tired. And then the person says, well, I guess that doesn't mean that we're not going to go to the park. And then all of a sudden they pop up and go, oh, I'm not tired anymore. That's awesome.
That's cute.
Oh, man.
Oh, funny.
So how is Lisa?
Good. Hanging in there. Yes. You?
That's good. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
I was telling Chris it's raining down here.
Oh, yeah. We haven't had rain in a couple days.
But as I said to Carla just a little bit ago, it's like, without the rain, you can't grow. And what are we talking about today? We're talking about growth. So without the rain, not only can we grow as people, but without the rain, our gardens won't grow. We won't be able to have the stuff that we need to be able to not only survive, but also to thrive. So you got to be able to say, hey, there's a natural balance to that. A little rain helps. Then again, not too much. You got to have that balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just love sunshine and warm weather.
That's always nice.
Yeah.
But I won't take a 45-degree stream, or it's a natural spring, I think you told me, that stays year round. I won't be able to do that. No, sorry. That up to someone else.
It's just the water. You don't have to get in the water.
But I saw the pictures of it. It was beautiful. But I'm like, in 45 degrees year round? Not me.
Yeah.
Unless it's extremely hot, like it was like 110 degrees.
That's still too cold. That's still too cold for anybody. Yeah.
In the winter, though, it doesn't freeze over, so it's actually warmer in the spring.
Wow.
Warmer in the spring than it is in the air. That's the fun part.
Amazing. And is it enclosed like in a cave?
No. It's attached to a river. So I don't know if you've seen the picture with the trees and so the river goes like beyond the trees, and so it ends. This spring obviously is the ending point. And so it's just a little lake basically looking thing, and the water is so clear you can see the fish that are 30 feet below the surface of the water. That's how clear the water is, but you can actually see the spring bringing up fresh water. You can see it move in the sand on the bottom. So this spring lake, I guess if you call it, is 40 to 50 feet deep, and you can see all the way down to the bottom.
Wow.
And you can see the sand moving because the spring is in spots where the spring is, turning over new water.
Wow.
Which is wild. But apparently the original owner of the spring, he bought this land, and this is like, I don't know, in the 1800s, if you will. He purchased this property and he found this spring. And when he died, he deeded the property to the state of Michigan. And the only stipulation was that he was giving the land to the state, but they had to maintain it as a park for the people of the state. And it's what's so interesting to me beyond all of that is the fact that I've lived in Michigan my entire life. And up until maybe 5 years ago, I had never heard of it before.
Oh my word.
Never heard of it.
Amazing.
But the lady that was facilitating, she's a park ranger or whatnot. And she was saying until like 10 years ago, no one really knew much about it. It's with social media and things like that the spring has been out in the open. And so they've gotten much busier than they were 10 years ago. Even though it's been a park since, I don't know when the guy died, but it's been a park since the owner of that land died, obviously. And it was in the 1800s that he found this spring, natural spring.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing.
Nice. Well, hello, Patrick. How are you doing today?
Hi.
Good. Not bad. You guys?
Good deal. Good. And we have a new guest on today. Who do we have with us today?
I'm guessing that's me. It's not Polly.
Well, hello there, sir. I just had a great and engaging conversation with you this morning. How are you doing today on Terrific Thursday?
Not bad. Not bad. Thank you.
Very
nice
good.
To be here.
Very good. Yes.
Welcome.
She was a great, engaging conversation, ladies and gentlemen. Please, if you have the time, please connect with the Patali.
Naftali.
Yeah. You're just phenomenal. Please reach out to this guy. And I must have you, if you could, before we go into our growth conversation today, please share your story that what you told me this morning. What I think is truly powerful and it's amazing. And I'd like for you to share that with the world. Would that be okay?
Yeah, about my company and such. That's the story?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I talk to so many people every day. I forget sometimes. Yeah. So my name's Naftali. I go by Naf because that's easier. And here's my story. How I came to this kind of work. I started a company when I was pretty young, about 24, which was actually quite a while ago, despite my looking young. It was a software development company, web development company in the late 90s. And I started this company because I'd worked at a couple of these very large companies working on, super big, like Fortune 100 type brands, the very first versions of those websites for those companies. The names don't matter. And these companies really treated people pretty horribly. For example, I'd work till 3 a.m, literally, at the office, no work from home stuff, and then come in at 9:30, and they'd say like, "You're late." And
you're lucky I'm here.
Yeah.
What's that?
Right.
And you're lucky I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know what they thought that I was doing in those past 6 hours, but so I just wanted to start a company that was a fun place to be, where people were treated right. And of course, we would do some work. We'd write software because that's what me and my buddies knew how to do. But the point of the company was to have a nice kind of clubhouse atmosphere, as I called it. And so we did that. We started a company. We started it in my apartment. 6 people. Well, first it was just me and a buddy, and then a couple more people, up to 6 people in my apartment. Then we got a proper office in downtown Boston. Grew it up to 15 people, and we did great for 4 years. We had really nice projects. Everybody had a great salary, as competitive or more as they'd make anywhere else. We had amazing benefits. We had food every week. We had drinks. We had just a really nice atmosphere and pretty much no rules. It was like, if you want to leave in the middle of the day because you got to go take care of something, or you're just burnt out or whatever, just do your thing. And we all trusted each other. And so what happened? For 4 years, we were pretty successful. And then one of our clients didn't pay us about $100,000 for work that we'd already completed, which we could have recovered from, but pretty much at the exact same time, the same week we heard that, all of our other clients stopped giving us work. It was 2001, and the economy was in a tailspin. It was right before 9/11. And so we couldn't recover from both those things. So I sat my team down. It was 10 guys at the time, and I was pretty much in tears. And I said, like, hey, guys, I love you all, but it's time to go home. I was like, I have $500 between the company bank account and my personal bank account, probably have $500. I need to come up with 40 grand in the next 2 days just to make payroll. And since that's not going to happen, the only option is to close the doors. And so there was one guy at the table who had kind of a reputation for being a wise ass. And he said, I'll stay. And I was like, I don't know if you're being sweet or jerky. So I just kind of ignored it. And then the next guy said, yeah, me too. And the next guy says, yeah, you'll come up with something. You always do. And so 10 guys said, yeah, we're not going anywhere. We'll stay with you. So for 2 months, they worked for free. And we hustled our asses off in those 2 months, and we got our biggest contract ever. And because of that, we were able to sell the company. And in the sale of the company, I only negotiated 2 things. One was that everybody had to come along as a group. They had wanted to pick and choose who was coming along. And the second was that everybody had to get a raise. And the acquiring company said, like, you're out of your mind. People are getting laid off left and right. Nobody's getting a raise. And I was like, well, that's the deal. I'd rather go out of business than, So they said, okay. And so everybody got a raise, which sort of made up for their back pay. And, we stayed together as a family. This new company had its own issues, of course. But we stayed together. So anyway, since then, I wrote a book called Humans Working, which I'm happy to send to any of you. And it's kind of loosely based on that story, but I've studied an awful lot about what makes people tick in company environments, but really universally what makes every human on the planet tick. And turns out we all operate the exact same way. And so this is what I teach, I teach how we are more similar than we are different, regardless of upbringing, past experiences, traumas, race, color, all that kind of stuff. We're all really the same. And that sounds nice in a hippie kind of way, but it actually turns out to be true scientifically, in that we all operate based on what seems real to us in the moment. And as people understand that this is what's happening, we're not reacting to the world around us. We're not even responding to the world around us. We're responding to what is going through our head at the moment, what seems real to us. And as people see this, their worlds start to change quite a bit. And everybody I've worked with has had pretty good changes in their business, which is usually the thing we talk about. But they've also told me almost universally that they've often stopped an addictive habit, eat better, exercise, they'll have more time with their family, better relationship with their kids, more free time, pick up their hobbies. And this is stuff we never talk about. We never talk about time management, never talk about addiction, never talk about relationships, really. We really just talk about the mind and how it works and how that creates a universal experience for everybody. So that's a long version of the short version. And I'm happy to answer any questions or talk about whatever, too.
Well, and I'm so humbled and honored that you even reached out to me, because you saw something similar, I guess, maybe through our Bringing Humanity Together business page or anything like that. So let me ask you this. What was it for you that said, hey, I need to get connected with Chris Berryman? And what was that for you?
Yeah, I like the name. I like the concept. In our conversation this morning, I really liked your energy. And, it seems like you're really trying to do something. Admittedly, I'm still trying to figure out what it is, what the form of it is. And it sounds like you are too, in a way, which is of course fine. But if I can help to navigate that or formulate that, then that's why I've showed up today.
Well, let's do a quick meet and greet with everyone here, so everyone can introduce themselves to you, and then we'll take it from Carla from today's conversation about growth. And Carla, I'll start with you.
Okay. Nice to meet you. I met Chris about 1.5 years ago. I've been saying that for a while, so it might be almost 2 years ago. on LinkedIn. And we happen to have a connection through Lakeland, Florida. And I left healthcare 2 years ago to grow my own health and wellness business. And I call that the 13th of September is my freedom anniversary. Because we work till we die. We don't enjoy life. And after 40 years in healthcare, I noticed that there were a lot of issues of how companies treat their employees. I saw it in healthcare. Chris talked about it in other industries, and other people have talked about it in their industries. And I saw that there was a problem worldwide, and we need to work on that. I saw a lot of burnout nurses that are looking for a coach to learn survival skills. They're not learning how to live. They're learning how to survive at a job that they don't like, and no one's meeting them on the other side to make it a great place to work, just like you were doing with your company. And I'm blessed to be working with a great group of people who enjoy life and want to help people. And I see the difference now. When I was into it with 2 feet, head first into a 50, 60-hour work week, getting paid for 40, I didn't see it. So I had to step out to see it. And that's how Chris and I got connected, because I felt like there was a way that we could all work together to bring literally both sides of the table together to say, how can we make the workplace a better place to be? Because we spend so much time at work, we need to make it the best that we can be.
Lisa?
Cool.
Hi, I'm Lisa. Nice to meet you. And I have a human resources background. And about 3 months ago, I connected with Chris on LinkedIn, just seeing something about bringing humanity together. And having my background, 20 years in human resources, I've seen a lot of gaps, if you will, in the ways that people in the workplace are treated. And I feel that there's a huge problem in that so many companies will preach, oh yeah, we're employee oriented, we care about the employee, but they don't really walk the walk, if you will. And I'm not saying they don't, all of them, that there's not a company out there that doesn't do this, that does better, that doesn't do better. But I think there are so many that you unfortunately don't see the good ones a lot of times. And so I wanted to get involved in bringing humanity together to help bring that message to more employers, to more people, because I think that it's not just a workplace problem, it's a community problem. And, people don't talk to people anymore. They don't connect, really, truly connect. And again, I felt that gap was big enough that I wanted to get involved in the mission. So that's why I'm here. So glad to have you aboard.
Thank you.
Patrick?
All right. Welcome, and I'm glad to have you aboard. So I am a long-standing 25-year plus business guy, and I've been through any facet of a business except for finance, because that's every position I've been in. I've had the ability to intermingle and really interact in depth in a lot of different areas. The reason why I joined this group is because it's I've seen from good to bad, and the company you just described that you built, I worked for a company like that in Charlotte for a long time. And on the surface, everything seemed really good. But as soon as you got dug down in the dirt, they took advantage of you. And that kind of set a bad space in my throat about that. So my thing is, as a leader, it behooves me to give back. And I think that's what the nature of what this is giving back to, like Lisa said, to the community, because a business is nothing more than another community. So it's, to give back in that way, why I joined.
Nice.
And what really has come to us, Natalie, is because we just know that there's a better way of doing things, a better way of being, a better way to lead. And what I've told everyone here that's on this team, and you'll get to meet more of them, is if we can create better environments, you'll get better results. And today, what we're talking about, I think that's why I wanted you to share your story, because it truly goes to the point of what we're talking about today about growth. When you create that environment, you just know it's going to happen. You know that's going to be there. All those 10 people who was in your organization said, "Hey, we're with you there, man. We'll get you where we need to go, and we'll be there for you." And it wasn't a matter if it was going to happen. It was only going to be a matter of when and who actually was saying, "I want to take that step and go into a much larger world." So I will throw it over to you, Miss Carla, and let's get this call started.
Well, I commend you and the group that you had there, that your bond was so strong that they believed in what you all were doing, to where they were willing to say, "I'm not leaving," because a lot of people are in jobs that they may not like, pays the bills. So it takes a big person to say, "Hey, I'm not jumping ship," and that speaks volumes on your leadership, not your management and the organization.
Yeah, thank you.
We love John C. Maxwell and all of his books and his wisdom, and he talked about growth and the acronym of growth. And what we decided to do this week is talk about that, and we broke it up into sections. And yesterday we covered the G, which stands for providing a growth environment for your employees, and grow your leaders and give your employees room to grow in the organization. The R stood for recognize your employees' growth needs, and share areas of development and growth needs. Give them tasks that will help them with their growth. Help them in all areas, find out where they want to grow. And O was opening opportunities for growth. So one of the things we talked about yesterday was a lot of organizations will have yearly goals that you'll set, and that's all well and good, but a lot of people don't believe that they're ever going to be able to achieve those goals in the organization, or actually even have them be heard. And maybe they're somewhat heard, but then you have to open up opportunities for growth. You may have people that want to go to particular conferences, and if they get constantly turned down for an opportunity to grow by learning at a conference or whatnot, they're just not going to feel heard. So, and that's really closing down their opportunities for growth. So those three areas we covered yesterday briefly, and then today we thought that we would pick apart the W and the T and the H. And the W talks, as John C. Maxwell has. Chris, you might have, I don't know if you have
the video ready to go.
Go ahead and do that part.
Totally do. So we're getting ready to rock and roll with some John C. Maxwell. And here he is, coming, if you can believe it, from Carla's church.
Yeah.
Back some years ago. But this is John C. Maxwell when it comes to growth in the WTH for today's conversation.
To develop, to get better. The W. Walk with them during challenging times. When they're going through incredibly difficult times, if you're there, two things happen. One is, much of the greatest teaching you'll ever do is when people are going through difficult times, because they're incredibly teachable, because they're kind of in a very rough time. And secondly, it's the greatest way to bond with people is they say, when I was going through my darkest hour, you were there. You were there. So walk with them through those difficult times. Letter T.
Now,
so
that's powerful.
That W is pretty powerful, and to me, it there's different ways to look at it. Walking with someone through difficult times, maybe they're learning a new job, and you're supporting them along the way and teaching them the ins and outs of a new job, and giving them encouragement and positive feedback, and helping them along the way instead of setting them up for failure, because it might be something that, yes, they're interested in, but they have never done it before. So being a leader and and being encouraging to them and helping them. I know we do a lot of that in my company with, you know, um, how to communicate with people, how to work at your social media, and you know, because a lot of people have never done that before, and it can actually, instead of being something daunting, can actually be something that's really fun. And then also knowing that when you're going through struggles, maybe you're going through family issues, or maybe there's a death in the family, or maybe you have someone in your family that all of a sudden has gotten very sick and you need to leave. The last thing you want to hear is the boss saying, well, can you get that project done by Friday in your spare time and taking care of your loved one? You know, you want a leader and working with a team that says, go, we've got it. You had a great example there, Nafali, about your team going, this is a hard time for us. I can't make payroll. We may have to close our doors. And have 10 people say to you, we're not going anywhere. They were part of a team and walking together during your hardest times.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I want to throw something out there. To me, this kind of reminds me of demonstrative leadership. It's you walking beside the person. It kind of reminds me of the old poem Footprints in the Sand. You know, walk alongside. Because if you walk too far behind somebody, you can't interact with them the appropriate way. If you walk ahead of them, you're going to miss out on what's going on with them, and you can't address the things along the way. So you got to walk along right alongside them. I totally agree with that.
Well, when you walk alongside them, they feel like they have a partnership,
Right?
and that they're not going through it alone. They're not learning a new skill or a new job alone. They've got someone there that wants them to succeed and is willing to show them the ins and outs and what might seem like a certain way of doing something. They'll have an easier way to do it.
Right. And it also breaks down the power barriers that may exist between people, which is very important.
What kind of examples have you seen, Lisa, in your years of human resource?
So I was just going to say, for me, though, walking beside someone really is the support piece. It's giving them the support that they need. You know, it could be a brand new hire, you know, that's trying to learn or navigate the organization, learn their job, and learn, you know, learn new people and things like that. It's walking beside someone is the support piece. And in an organization, I think it can be difficult to take a step back and do that because you're so focused on the end goal. You know, we got to get this done, and, you know, and I think a true leader will, you know, like Carla was saying, like you were saying, Carla, it's not someone who says, you know, get this done. You've got a million things going on with, you know, with taking care of a family member. The leader, the manager is just focused on that goal, and they should be focused on the person. Because if you trust, and again, I think that walking beside someone, it builds trust, and it gives them the support that they need. And so when things do come up, that, you know, they're going to prioritize, obviously, their family first, but they're not going to forget their goal of getting the job done. Whether it's, you know, hey, I'm going to give, you know, talk to my coworker and give, you know, they're going to make sure it gets done, even though they have other things going on, because they're engaged and they've had that, if they've had that support from their leader, they're going to do it. And I think Naf's example of his company with his employee, with his team, you know, he obviously supported them, and they trusted him. They trusted him to do, they knew he was going to come up with something, you know, so they weren't worried. They were standing there with their team supporting, they were walking alongside their team in the greatest time of need, like you were saying, Carla, because again, I think that's what happens when when a leader shows support or walking alongside their employee when they need it, they're going to turn around and do the same thing when
So
it's necessary.
what did you say when you had 10 people that you were working with that said they didn't want to leave? I'm sure you probably wanted to cry. But when they said, oh, no, we're not going to leave, you'll come up with something. No pressure there.
No, there was. I mean, in fact, there was no pressure because there was this immense feeling of connectedness. Of I don't have to do it on my own, right? There was.
Right.
You guys have all just shown me that I don't have to come up with something. We'll come up with something. Right. But, and this is the sort of, this is how people get management wrong, right? That management is about, leadership is about being a lighthouse. If you're a lighthouse, you don't need much of anything. You don't need to know how to do much of anything, right? You have people wanting to follow you because you are worth following, right? You are the North Star. They want to follow you because following you is the way home. And by the way home, I mean, in your heart, right? We all know when we feel that sense of home. And if you're a leader, a real leader, people will follow you. And when you have that sort of army behind you, you don't need to come up with these magical things, right? And in those next 2 months, it was fucking hard. And every day they say, like, what are we doing? I'd say, like, I don't know, but I kind of have a feeling that it's going to be all right. And they'd say, okay. I say, we're getting close on some things. Nothing's for sure. I don't know. We'll try this. We'll try that. There was no, let me tell you what's going to happen here. First step, we're marching in. Second step, we're taking control. There wasn't that. There was a whole lot of, I don't know.
Honesty.
You know what? Honesty, integrity. Can I share something with you guys? Because I like the direction that you're going in terms of feeling, but I want to share something that might just shift your thought on this a little bit. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. Window. Give me 2 seconds here. Sure. Okay. Can you see that or not?
Well, yeah, hold on, just 1 sec.
Chris needs to allow you to share.
Yeah. All right, here we go. The screen is yours, sir.
All right. So this is how we get results in business through an understanding of the living mechanics of the mind. All right. So we can sit here and talk about all day about what should happen in businesses, how people should, all those, the GRWs, all that stuff you were just talking about. And they're all really nice ideas, and they're nice strategies, if you will, but they are strategies, meaning they are things to do. They are prescriptions. So what I'm going to show you in this slideshow is more towards a description of how the human mind works. And if we can really see this, then all of these, what you should do as a leader, as an employee, as anybody in between, will become much more apparent. Let me just step through this pretty quick. It'll take 5 minutes, and then you can ask any questions you want. All right, so any business wants results, right? They want collaboration, engagement, productivity. We want to get our projects done more on time. We want more money. We want to grow. We want to be the market leader, right? Those are all, we want more sales. Those are all results that we're looking for, right? Confidence, you could even say, as a result. I want to have more confidence, all right? But how do we get there? Well, it's pretty obvious that we get there from actions and behaviors, right? From high trust. The more we trust each other, the better we're going to work together. The more we respect each other, the more we listen. These are kind of all the growth things that you're just talking about, right? All very similar to that. The more we listen to each other, the more we have rapport, connection with each other, the more we are brave, the more we even just say, try harder, have a better work ethic, stuff like that. This is all pretty obvious stuff, right? But the challenge is that most companies and well-meaning folks like us try to address behavior, changing behavior at the level of behavior, right? So what I mean by that is you'll have a manager that'll say, hey, just trust each other more, and I'm sure things will go better. But of course, that's not where trust comes from, right? You might have a very well-meaning consulting firm go into a company and tell the boss, hey, you know what? You need to walk with people more when they're in their hardest times. You need to trust people more. You need to give people time off. You need to whatever. But the problem is that you can never change behavior at the level of behavior, right? You can't tell somebody who's a drinking addict, an alcoholic, hey, just stop drinking, right? It's never going to work. Why? So now we investigate, where do our actions and behaviors come from, right? So how we feel in any moment almost universally determines our behavior in the moment. If you are feeling angry, you're going to act angry. If you feel like you really need a drink, I don't care how many times you've seen what happens to alcoholics, or how many times somebody has told you not to do this, or how many times you've messed up your family or wound up in the emergency room or whatever. If you really feel like you just have to have a drink, you're going to have one. It's pretty much that simple. If you really feel that the project needs to be done now, you're going to tell people it needs to be done now. So let's dig a little deeper. What causes feeling, right? What causes feeling is the content of our thinking in the moment. You could also call this the what of our thinking. This is the what's in your mind at the moment, the 100,000 plus literally thoughts that pass through your head every day, right? So we've got, what's for lunch? What's my future going to look like? Wait, where did I leave my keys? Where's my kids? I'm like, oh, I'm feeling kind of hungry right now. Oh, this is an interesting TV show. The millions of thoughts that pass through our heads every day, those create a feeling, all right? So if you have thinking that is sort of angry, that you got cheated or something like that, you're going to have an angry feeling. You're going to have an angry behavior. It's going to lead to a substandard outcome, all right? But what does that thinking come from, right? Why does each of us have the thinking that we have, right? So this is what we could call the why of our thinking, the programming. This is our culture, upbringing, or values, how our parents taught us about money or religion or learned experiences, or if you had a traumatic something happen or whatever. This is, right, these are all called programming. But understanding that, and this is where almost all therapy and coaching, to be quite honest, points to, right? Like, let's undo your programming in hopes that you will have a better thinking, and hopefully that will create a better experience for you. But it's really hard to undo programming, especially at the level of programming. So the next and final step is what creates programming. This is called living mechanics. So these are principles, right? And by principles, I mean things that are universally true for every single human being on the planet, regardless of whether they took a bullet to the head, or they have a mental illness, or they grew up poor, or they're gay, or whatever. Universally, this works for every single person. So moment to moment, we are creating our world from the inside out, which then gets stored as programming and later recalled, right? So our mind in every moment is taking input, sensory input, from somebody yelling at us, from somebody dying, from winning the lottery, from whatever, mixes that sort of with our programming, our memory, and stuff like that, and creates a movie. The mind creates a movie in front of us, and we watch that movie and think that it's real. The mind only does real, okay? The mind is so good at making your thinking seem real to you. Now, if you have thinking in the moment that looks like, if you don't get this project done by tomorrow, the company's going out of business, and if that happens, you're going to end up homeless and whatever, I don't care how nice you are, you're going to do whatever is necessary to get that project done, if that means screaming at people or whatever. But the way to fix this, right, is to not tell people, oh, be nicer or any of that stuff. It's to help people see that picture that they've just created, in the example I just gave, for example, right, that the company's going to go out of business, you're going to be homeless, and the whole world is going to end tomorrow. That picture that you just created, that happened here. I don't know if you can see me, right? That happened in your head. That's the only place that our experience ever gets created. And as people see that they are not experiencing the world outside of them, they're not experiencing a low bank balance, they're not experiencing somebody yelling at them, they're experiencing what's in their head, then everything changes, right? When I come home, and if my wife has, that tone, right? If it looks to me like she's attacking me, if that's the picture that I paint, then of course I'm going to do something that's going to look like attacking back. I'm going to shout or recoil or whatever I might do, right? If I can understand that yelling, a sound wave basically, can't make me upset, words can't make me upset, absent the process that goes on in my head telling myself some story about why I shouldn't be yelled at, that can't possibly make me upset. And if I can see that for about 2 seconds, just 2 seconds, what happens is, in that 2 seconds where I can say, all right, I'm just painting a picture of something that seems real, but that's not actually what's happening. What generally happens is we settle down and anger turns naturally to compassion, right? Instead of saying, well, what the hell are you talking to me like that for? I can say, wow, you don't usually talk like that. If you're talking to me like that, probably means you had a rough day. What went on? Oh, and right. And what's there? The opportunity for her to say, oh, yeah, it was a rough day. Sorry, I shouldn't have yelled at you. And instantly, World War III gets averted and love comes out, right? Mm-hmm. And so all of any suggestion that any of us has about how another human should operate, they're very well-meaning. But I think that the way to get to transformational change, and by transformational I mean like a caterpillar to a butterfly, not just a slight tweak on a caterpillar, we really need to show people how their experience is coming to life. And through that, everything changes. And this is why I've been able to work with people who are type A people with extreme tempers, and they turn into like pussycats within a few months, like literally within a few months. And if I could tell them all day long, hey, just be nicer, that would probably just infuriate them. That would make it worse, right? So,
Right.
So this is sort of, and this is again universally. And somebody else that, just to give you a really extreme example of this, a colleague of mine teaches this to sex offenders. Well, she doesn't. She joins violent sex offenders with their victims. They get in the same room, and she teaches them this: that our mind is creating a picture. And within hours, what invariably happens is they come out of these sessions saying about each other, we are more similar than we are different. All right. So meaning that they can both see that they are creating a picture of reality and operating on what seems real in the moment. So so when we see that, there's even a bit of compassion we can have for quote unquote horrible people, whether that's the horrible boss or the rapist or the whatever, that we can understand, wow, given their thinking, if I had their thinking in the moment, I probably, or almost definitively, would have done the same thing. Now, it's hard for any of us to imagine that we could ever do something so horrible as a criminal act, right? But if you had the same thinking that whoever committed that did at the time, you would have done it. There's no way around it. If you think that like, oh, unless I steal, then my family's going to go hungry or whatever, if that's the thinking you have, you're probably going to operate on that wavelength. Mm-hmm. So there's again, it doesn't excuse the behavior. It doesn't say we should just forget about it and empty the prisons. It doesn't say any of that, but it just does give us a little space, a tiny bit of space for compassion for everybody. And that, in my mind, is what's going to fix all this stuff. We can go around telling people all we want. You should be nicer. You should walk with people. You should take people's opinions into account. If they don't see it, they're not going to do it.
Well, thank you so much for that, Dolly. We greatly appreciate you. And I have to bring in my great friend and mentor who has actually been chiming in while you have been talking and showing us that presentation, Brian Sumner. Brian, how you doing this afternoon, sir?
I'm doing well, Chris. How are you?
I am
Carla?
doing great, doing great. So share some insights of what you've been hearing from today, especially what Natalie has been sharing with us today.
No, it's spot on. I mean, our mind creates language. Um, if you distill everything down to its very basic principle, the world is empty and meaningless. And the only reason and the only way that it has meaning is through language, right? I mean, we're one of the few species that we know of that has an audible language that we understand. I'm not to say that other species don't communicate with one another, but how we communicate is distinctive. And basically, in many ways, if you look at a lot of the research, people don't know, or at least humans don't know, if other animals get in their own way like we do, right? I mean, I can't imagine many birds waking up on Monday and being like, I don't feel like flying today. Or like a fish isn't going to be like, oh, I'm just not going to swim today because I'm too lazy and tired. Like they're not designed that way. Um, we are. We have these thoughts, and there's a distinction between thoughts and thinking. Thoughts are the random generative, words, sentences, and so forth that pop up into our mind. We have something like 80% of them are negative on a daily basis. But one of the things that's interesting is it's all created, right? I mean, it's interpretation all the way down. So one of the things I think I mentioned in the previous post there was there's a distinction between what happens and what we say happens. And it's what we say happens is what gets us into all the trouble, right? What are we attached to? What are we addicted to, right? And I'm not talking addiction as in drugs, alcohol, or whatnot, albeit those being issues. The addictions I talk about are the ones of being right, looking good, sounding smart, right? The things that we're human about, right? And one of the things that's kind of fascinating is that to be human is to be inauthentic. We're all full of it. We're all making it up. And we're making it up because situations occur to us differently, all from our past experiences, our values, right? All the different kinds of things that we come with, right? We don't enter into any conversation blank. We always enter into a situation or a conversation with a past, and we bring it with us everywhere. And the people you have in conversations with have their own past. And one of the things that's unique and interesting that I see in a lot of conversations with people, and you can watch the news or any politician or what's going on around the world, very rarely do we ever recognize that when we get into a conversation with someone, that person is already in the middle of something. And we come at them with our own beliefs, our shoulds, our should nots, our haves, our have nots, and need nots and such. And we don't give them space to just be who they are because we're trying to tell them what we want. And I see a lot of leadership is that way, right? As you were talking about, look, I've studied leadership for a long time, and most leadership is a bunch of crap. And I know you like Chauncey Maxwell and all, but whatever.
But I don't.
Tell us how you really feel about it.
Oh, I have nothing wrong with him. I have nothing wrong with any of the gurus or so-called gurus. They all say smart things. The problem is everything that they describe is simply a description or an account given by an observer. They're not actually in the realm of leadership, right? And I'll use a tennis example, Chris. Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal or Novak Djokovic, name whomever. They're playing on the tennis court and you're sitting in the stands watching them and you're making an assessment of what you're seeing physically happen on the court. You're reading body language, you're looking at facial expressions, you're looking at breathing, all these things, and you're making an assessment of, whoa, they must be tired, or they must be angry, or they must be this. But you're not actually on the court with them, and you're not them on the court. So we're making an assumption based on something that we're seeing externally when we have no ass idea what's actually occurring. And it's one of the things I find fascinating about leadership, because they throw these wonderful theories out of what you should or shouldn't do and how you should be in a workplace. Well, how many people actually are actively having a conversation with themselves saying, oh, on page 45 of that book, it said I need to be really empathetic, so I'm going to be empathetic now. As you're having a conversation with someone who's having a meltdown in the workplace because they feel like they're going to lose their job, or if they don't get their things done in time, they're not going to be able to pay their bills, right? I mean, the point is being present with someone and listening to them and being there with them is different from describing what it's like to be there with them. And I think that's the distinction that people don't make when they describe leadership. Leaders, when they're actually in the process of being the leader, aren't in an internal conversation of what they should, shouldn't do. They're just reacting and doing what they believe is necessary in that moment. So you could say leadership is what is wanted and needed at that moment. Now, that's not to say you don't listen. It's not to say that you aren't empathetic. It isn't that you aren't trying to help people. My point is, when you're actually doing something, you're doing it from a different context from talking about doing it, right? Carla plays golf. Carla steps on the first tee. She has a swing thought about what she should do with the golf club. She then tries to swing the golf club, hit the ball, and the ball goes someplace, right? But at no point in the 2 seconds of swinging a golf club was she actually present to what was occurring as it was occurring. She was in a conversation about what to remember, what happened in the, previously, what's coming up, comparing and contrasting to something that she hit a golf ball with. All these things. We're very rarely just present with someone. We're inside our heads having conversations about being present, which isn't being present. So I think leadership, there's an aspect of understanding people, where their values are, and what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and how to do stuff. But when you're actually doing it, Chris, it doesn't look anything like what someone describes it as in a text or a research paper. I mean, if you ask some amazing athletes, and they, whether it be Kobe Bryant when he was still alive, or Michael Jordan, or whomever, or Tiger Woods, they actually are so present to what's occurring that they don't hear or notice most everything around them until after they've taken a shot or whatever they've done, right? Some of the greatest athletes in the world, and I know Kobe Bryant has talked about this before he passed away, he could hear, smell, taste, touch, right? All the wonderful senses that he has. It's not just a visual thing, auditory, digital, all the things inside our head or what our mind does. He could actually, what does making a basket taste like to him? What does it smell like to him, right? So he runs through these processes so that his mind and everything gets so present to that he performs differently. And I just think leadership is that way. It's a completely different context for us.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to jump. I have another call. It's really been lovely. I'll try to join again. And Chris, I'll catch up with you on the LinkedIn.
Greatly appreciate you.
Nice meeting you
today.
Take care.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. But Ron, as usual, as always, you just bring a wealth of knowledge. So I'll go back to you, Miss Carla, because we got to finish the O and the T and the H and everything, because we were just talking about the W.
Oh,
So
you have the video?
I'm bringing up the video now. So we're going to go right back to the rest of John C. Maxwell and Chrome tab. Here we go. Close feed. Here we go. Here is what John C. Maxwell says on the rest. And what we'll do is we'll just go right to the T and H and then go from there.
Okay.
Teach them to learn from every
Experience. Whenever you're with your team, constantly be teaching them to learn from every experience. With my children, with my grandchildren, every time we would go and do anything together as with the kids. What did you love? What did you learn? What did you love? What did you learn? What did you love? What did you learn? And with the kids, I always started with what did you love, because that's their passion. And they were much quicker to express that than what they learned. But they realized every time we had an experience, I was going to ask them what they learned. Because remember this again, experience is not the best teacher. If experience were the best teacher, as people got older, they get better. And I know a whole bunch of people, they're not getting better. How many of you know somebody like that, huh? They're getting older. Yeah, sure. How many of you are seated beside that person right now? Be careful there. Be careful there. Be careful there. And then the letter H in growth, help them add value to their teammates. Help them understand how they add value to one another, and constantly allow them to do that.
Now, isn't that powerful? Carla, I'll go over to you.
I love what he said about learning from every experience. And, he put it on a kid's level of what did you love and what did you learn? We all have something to learn about all of our experiences in life. We have a lot to learn about when we're in the workplace and trying new things and working together as a team. And sometimes things work and sometimes things don't. You learn from those experiences. I love what he says, that experience is not the best teacher, because if so, we would all be experts, and we're not experts as we get older. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then under the H, he was talking about help them add value to each other and their teammates, and not only as a team, but as an individual. And I think that just, to me, goes a long way towards developing that team, like Nuff was talking about, of 10 people that said, I know we could close our doors, but I don't want to close our doors. We're not going to take a paycheck because we're going to make it work, and we're going to work to make it work. I think everybody wants a team like that. Everybody wants to work in situations like that. That everybody's together, and the good times and the bad times, and they give value to the team, and they also build each other up to give value to them too.
You're so spot on, John C. Maxwell, and you're so spot on, Carla. You're absolutely right. And to me, I truly believe we have that here at Bringing Humanity Together. We're great people like Brian, like Lisa, like Patrick, and Naftali jumping on as he did today. That just added value to me today. I'm so thrilled he even jumped on today. That was truly amazing. But again, what I even said to him today when I had that conversation with him today, when we add value to people and they know it and it's tangible to them, but yet again, what Brian said today about being present, if we can be present with them in that very moment instead of just talking about it, I think that's going to be truly powerful, that when we combine the two, that really shows up to them in each and every single day that, hey, I'm willing to take that step with you, because I don't want to close the doors, but you know what? I have trust that it's going to happen, because not only do I have my trust in Carla, I have my trust in Patrick, and to Brian, and to Lisa, and to Sandy, and Anno, whoever else. We just know it's going to work and everything like that. What's your thoughts, Patrick?
Well, the whole learning from experiences, I have a personal goal every day that I have to learn at least one thing a day before I go to bed. And I stick with it, stick by it. In fact, that's why I love these calls, because I always get off these calls and I've learned some pretty cool stuff from other people. You know, it's because I can only learn so much in the amount of time that I've got set aside. You guys, bring a new viewpoint to that. And by doing that, what you're really doing is fostering an environment of learning for everybody. And I think that's very important. And then helping to find add value from teammates. If you have a teammate where value is added, that's going to bleed to the other teammates. It's going to bring that success all together, because if that teammate fails, the team fails. If the teammate succeeds, there's a higher propensity that team is also going to succeed. So it's a downstream effect. So I hate to say it, but I got to jump off too. So thanks for calling me last one. I gotta go.
Thank
So
you, Pastor.
thanks,
We really
guys.
appreciate it,
Appreciate
man.
All right, thanks.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
You too. Have a great weekend. Lisa?
What about you, Lisa?
So for me, I really liked what he said about, the teaching aspect, what did you love and what did you learn? Because I agree, you don't always learn from experiences. And I think you have to be real specific about, your thoughts, and that you have to think about, what was it that really stuck with me, and what hit home for me. And so I think it's important, to figure out what it is, what did you love and what did you learn? So I really like that part. The other thing with the H, helping people add value. I think that, I think in general, people want to know that they added value to someone else. And I think when they have that, it just strengthens the relationship, and it's just a positive influence on the relationship. And then it just flows into, other relationships. So that's my take on it.
So, Brian, why do you think that people don't stop and figure out what they've learned or what they love about an experience?
We're not trained to look for it. We're trained to examine results and performance. Even companies that use the moniker or the slogan learning organizations are still very much about process and performance. Take a consideration. I mean, think back when you were in school and you went on and you took a test or an assignment. When you got out of that class, what's the first thing that one of your classmates or you ask one another? How'd you do? Not what'd you learn, right? Yeah. I mean, we're so predisposed to that. Look, I disagree with what Maxwell says, that experience isn't a very good thing for us to recognize. And I guess I would make the one caveat. Clear experience is what people are after. Non-judgmental, non-biased, clear experience. One that's detached from actual results. That you just went out and you learned what it is that you had and what you were able to do, as opposed to examining it in good or better or right or wrong, should or shouldn't. So, I think experience is a huge motivator, at least for me. I mean, it's the only way that I can develop in golf. Like, we don't develop and become better based on what smart things people say or smart things that we read, or all the wonderful advice that we have come to take. Look, I've been in and around golf for a long time, and I play pretty well, and I can assure you that I haven't learned how to be a better golfer based on what teachers have told me. And they all know their stuff, and I'm not saying they don't know, but knowing isn't what gets you to learn. Like, actually having an experience of what's occurring as it's occurring in a clear way, without right, wrong, I think is really just a real differentiator. And I just don't think we see that much in business. we're so predisposed to what your metrics are and how you stack up against coworkers, and did you get your stuff done on time? I don't know. I mean, if you think about what stops people's performance, right? And if you want better performance, I think we have to get to having a conversation about the root of performance, right? I mean, again, we talk around these topics in schools, in universities, in business, so forth. And, obviously people believe the carrot and the stick is going to help, which it doesn't hurt. Believe me, people want to make more money. But there's a deeper conversation, I think, that could get to certain things faster that we tend to miss a lot of times, Chris. And I think experience is huge, because each person has a different experience.
Right.
And how you interpret that experience will give you your reality of how you interact with yourself and people around you.
Well, I think that John C. Maxwell is saying, when he says experience is not always the best teacher, you can have 100 different experiences and list them all. But if you didn't learn anything from them, it doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you smarter. So I feel like what he's saying is you have to look at what you have learned from the experience.
Yes.
And unless you do that, it's not going to be a good teacher, because taking the time to look at your experiences and like you said, what did you love? What did you learn from each one of those experiences? Those are going to make you better.
Yeah, and I think you
Yeah.
see that, Carla, and a lot of people do the same thing over and over again. They don't learn, or they haven't thought about what they've learned from it. So they continue to make the same mistake over and over again.
Well, Brian was talking about golf, and there was a friend of mine who's learning how to play golf, and she kept hitting over the top of the ball. And I said, well, you might want to reposition your ball. But my instructor told me I should hit it this way. I said, but it's not working for you. Figure out what's working for you and play around with it and figure out what works with you. I said, what works for you and what works for me could be two totally different things.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And just because your top pro has the ball off the inside of his left foot doesn't mean that that's the right ball placement for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you have to experience it and learn from those experiences and learn what works for you when you're out playing golf.
Right. Exactly. So I have to ask you, Brian, because we've been on this topic for the past couple of days, and I know you've been busy and everything, and I'm glad you jumped on with us today. But what does growth look like and mean to you?
Growth is, how's the best way to describe this?
In 2 minutes or less.
It would be it's a three-part process, if you will, lack of a better term. It has learning, it has enjoyment, and it has performance. And one of my mentors, Tim Galloway, has used it, and he draws it in kind of a triangle with the three of them at the edges of the triangle. And growth is simply getting better performance, if that's what you want, coupled with greater enjoyment and enhanced learning. And, we have conversations, and I hear a lot of people talking about, do what you love, not for the money, and, it's not about performing, it's about did you enjoy it. There's always going to be, at least in my experience, there's always an aspect of I want to perform better in everything that I do, because if not, it would be boring. Like if it was all about learning, I could be a professional student, but that wouldn't be much, way of enjoyment after a while. After a while, want something else. It can't all be enjoyable. Although learning, enjoyment, and performance, and learning is enjoyable. And a lot of people don't look at that. I mean, I remember spending years in a classroom and students would always be like, I have to learn. No, it's no fun. It's like, well, that's kind of purpose. And then there's an aspect of performance. And as much as I practice detachment from results and letting go and freedom and not caring about outcomes, there's always a small aspect of there has to be some reward there. Because if there isn't, I won't do it. So it would be the confluence of the meeting of those three things, Carla.
I love that. I do. I can see how they're interconnected, to be honest with you, Brian. They are. So
what would
Carla,
your call to action be, Chris?
I would just leave it there with Brian. That is perfect about enjoyment, enhanced learning, and also that experience to that result and everything like that. That is, I'm just gonna leave it there. That is perfect. That would be the call to action. Take it from those three. It's like, what was it? Phil Jackson, the triangle. The goal. Yep. That's surely perfect. Lisa?
What about you, Lisa?
Yeah, for me, I think it's just make an effort to find out what you loved and what you learned in your experiences, because otherwise they're just experiences, and not that they're bad or anything, but you didn't get anything out of it. And so if we want to grow, which is what we're talking about, I think we need to look at our experiences and find out, and maybe take it a step further. What didn't you like about your experience? Because there's always that piece of it too, if you ask me. I mean, you have experiences and it was either positive or negative, and so you can't always love something out of an experience. It could be, I really didn't like this experience, and you still learned something from it, but you just didn't like the experience, or you really did like the experience, or it was really meaningful to you. But I think that's my call to action, is just be specific about your experiences and what you loved, didn't love, and what you learned, because that makes us better in the end.
Well, I like all those, but I also I do believe that you should enjoy
We
what
might
you're
be
doing.
having some technical
Yeah.
Too many people out there that are not enjoying their job, and that's affecting how they're interacting with other people in the workplace, and what they're bringing to the table to foster this growth in an organization. And they're certainly not growing themselves. I think you truly need to decide what you like to do. And if it's a passion, that's fine. I mean, but if it's a job, then I think that people should like what they do. And if it's not something that you're liking what you do in the organization, hopefully you're working with an organization that will allow you the opportunity to grow and explore different things to put you in the right place, because it's good for you and it's also good for the organization.
I agree with that. Sometimes though, you have to do things you don't like to find out what you really like. But I agree. I think it's all really related, interconnected, if you will, because if you never experience, anything you don't like, you're never really going to find that true passion, if you ask me. So.
Well, if you have an experience and you go, what did you love? Not a whole lot about it. What did you learn? I learned that I don't care for that experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't always have to learn something positive. You can also learn that it's not something that's for you.
Right. Exactly.
So as always, Brian, Lisa, and Carla, thank you for the great and engaging conversation. And also thank you, Patrick, for joining us again today. And I know you had to go. And Natalie, greatly appreciate you joining us today. That was a great wealth and added value to the conversation today. We greatly appreciate you. And as always, we will see you next Tuesday for Share and Care with Sandy. And we miss you today, Sandy. Have a happy Yom Kippur today. And we'll see you next week for Sharing Care with Sandy. Everyone have a great day. Make it your day. And we'll see
Bye.
you next week.
Have
Have
a
a
great
great night.
weekend.